What if this was the moment it all changed for Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari, and nobody noticed? No pole position, no podium, just a quiet 5 Bahraini dinars in Bahrain. But buried inside that race, a second stint so smooth, so precise, it flipped Hamilton's entire narrative in red. For the first time this season, he felt aligned with the SF25, and that's not just encouraging, it's dangerous. Because if Hamilton has finally cracked the code, if he's figured out how to unlock performance in a car that's felt alien all year, then what's coming isn't just a comeback, it's a warning shot to the whole grid. Stick around, because in the next few minutes, we'll show you why this middle stint in Bahrain could be the exact moment Hamilton stopped adapting and started preparing to dominate. But first we need to talk about... Let's stop pretending contracts mean everything in Formula One. Because if the latest reports are on the money, Max Verstappen holds the keys to his own escape. And Red Bull? They might be closer to losing him than they'd ever admit. You're watching Paddock Insider, where we connect the dots the mainstream avoids and tell you what's really at stake behind the Paddock smiles. A report from The Times claims Verstappen's deal includes an exit clause if he's sitting outside the top 3 in the drivers' standings after a significant part of the 2025 season. Translation: if Red Bull underdelivers, Max could simply walk away. No drama, no showdown. Just done. And while Christian Horner didn't confirm the fine print, he did admit it. There's a performance element in the contract. That's not nothing. That's a red flag for the whole paddock to watch. It's not the first time. Back in 2019, Max reportedly had a similar clause. If he fell out of the top 3 mid-season, he was free to go. Red Bull held him, barely, but now that same structure is whispering its way back into relevance. And this time, the consequences would be seismic. Let's not play coy. Mercedes wanted Max for 2025. They didn't get him yet. They promoted Kimi Antonelli, yes, but don't forget, Russell's deal ends in 2025, and Kimi's contract still under wraps. A second silver seat in 2026 is wide open. Then there's Aston Martin, Honda engines, Adrian Newey rumors. It's not just a fallback. It could be a super team in waiting. Verstappen, Newey, Honda. That's the kind of lineup that shifts eras. Max says he intends to stay until 2028, but intends is PR code for we'll see. If Red Bull stumbles next year, if McLaren, Mercedes, or Ferrari pull ahead, that clause starts glowing like a big red exit sign. And don't forget what Mercedes CEO Ola Kalenius said on record. Max would look good in silver. He wasn't joking. That was bait and a message. Before he passed, Eddie Jordan dropped a bomb. Mercedes bosses, including Toto Wolff and Ineos chief Sir Jim Ratcliffe, had a meeting in Monaco. Purpose? To build a fighting fund to afford Verstappen's signature. Jordan called Hamilton to Mercedes in 2012. If he says a Max move is brewing, don't roll your eyes. Start listening. Verstappen might have a contract until 2028, but if Red Bull slips, that paper means nothing. If Max drops to 4th, or the car's no longer front-running material, he's gone. And frankly, why would he stay? Max Verstappen isn't here to play catch-up. He's here to dominate. Let's be honest. This wasn't Lewis Hamilton putting it on pole or climbing a podium in red. But what happened in Bahrain might matter more. Because in one clean, committed middle stint, Hamilton stopped struggling with the SF25 and started understanding it. You're watching Paddock Insider, where we don't get distracted by shiny headlines. We look for the shifts that actually mean something. Saturday was tough. Hamilton was 6/10 off Leclerc and started P9. He didn't sugarcoat it either. Told the media he wasn't doing a good enough job. Brutally honest, a bit worrying? Yeah, but it set the tone for what came next. Sunday, not flashy, but crucial. Hamilton climbed to P5, good, not spectacular. But the breakthrough came in that second stint. On mediums, low fuel, clean air, and suddenly it all started clicking. His words, "I felt really aligned with the car." That's huge. We've heard frustration all year. This was the first time he sounded connected. This is Hamilton we're talking about. 7 titles, over 100 wins. And he's admitting he had to start from zero at Ferrari. Why? Because the tools are completely different. He's using engine braking for the first time. Different brakes, a new feel underfoot. It's not a transition, it's a transformation. We get stuck in our ways, he said. I've had to unlearn and adapt from everything I've known. Most drivers wouldn't be this open, but Hamilton isn't interested in ego. He's interested in results. Lewis also admitted he's been miles off with setup all year. But in Bahrain, he started migrating closer to Charles, learning, testing, finding the overlap. That's not copying, it's evolution. And once Hamilton evolves into a car, we all know what happens next. Forget the points gap. Forget the grid position. For the first time in red, Hamilton knows what to do next. That's the part his rivals should be worried about. Because when he connects the dots, he doesn't just improve, he dominates. Let's not pretend it's all going to plan, because it isn't. 4 races into 2025, and Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari chapter isn't reading like a fairy tale. The radio calls, tired, the body language, deflated, and the results, far below expectation. But is this decline, or is it just the cost of starting from zero at the top? You're watching Paddock Insider, where we skip the PR filters and get straight to the real diagnosis. Sky F1's Martin Brundle has seen it all, and his take on Hamilton is sharp. Forget the "he's past it" noise. Brundle thinks the real issue is deeper. Lewis is relearning the art of driving, from scratch. After 12 years fine-tuning his instincts around a Mercedes, Hamilton is now in a machine that asks different questions. And so far, he doesn't have all the answers. Different brakes, different power delivery, different balance. It's not just switching teams, it's switching everything. As Brundle put it, it's harder to relearn than to learn for the first time. The numbers don't lie. 4 races, 0 podiums, always behind Leclerc on Sundays. And in Bahrain, P9 in qualifying, 6/10 off his teammate. Not what anyone expected from the most decorated driver on the grid. And Hamilton knows it. After Bahrain, he said, "It's just my driving." That's not deflection, that's accountability. And it stings, because he's still that guy. Brundle made it clear, Lewis hasn't lost his edge, just the familiarity with the car beneath him. Leclerc's been part of Ferrari's DNA for years. Hamilton? He's still looking for the code, still trying to get the car to talk back. But here's the thing, when Lewis learns the language, he doesn't just speak it, he rewrites it. This isn't just a rough patch, it's a transformation in progress. Hamilton's going through what very few legends ever dared to, tearing down everything that made them great to build something even greater. So if he pulls this off, we're not talking about a comeback. We're talking about a career-defining evolution. He's 7th in the standings, 25 points, already 52 behind Norris, 7 behind Leclerc. But if you followed Hamilton's career, you know the pattern. Once he finds the groove, he doesn't just win, he dominates. Let's call it what it is. Charles Leclerc just sent a warning shot to his own garage. No sugarcoating, no "will improve." Just a raw, painful truth. We're just not fast enough. You're watching Paddock Insider, where we don't do paddock diplomacy. We track what's really being said and what it means. Leclerc started on the front row in Bahrain, P2, clear track ahead. But the podium slipped away by lap 1. George Russell flew past. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris closed in. And even with a 5-second penalty looming over Norris, Leclerc had no answer. The speed just wasn't there. His debrief said it all. Whatever strategy you do, you're always on the wrong side of things. That's not frustration, that's resignation. And that should scare Ferrari fans more than a DNF. Leclerc and Hamilton went bold with the medium tires at the start, trying to outlast the pack. But by the time the soft runners pitted and the Ferraris took the lead, it was clear they didn't have the legs to stay there. The safety car should have helped. Leclerc had fresher rubber track position and a shot at Russell. Didn't matter. Once the final stint began, the Ferrari was out of ideas. No grip, no challenge, and definitely no podium. Leclerc is now behind both McLaren's and Russell in the standings, and we're barely a handful of races into the season. The SF25 has made improvements, sure, but it's not enough. Not when McLaren is executing at every level and Mercedes is creeping back into contention. And when Leclerc, the guy who's lived through every failed Ferrari rebuild since 2019, starts publicly questioning the car's pace, that's not just a post-race quote, that's an SOS. No excuses, no blaming tires, pit walls, or luck. Just a clear-eyed look at the truth. Ferrari isn't fast enough to fight at the front, and that's exactly what separates Leclerc from most drivers on the grid. He's not interested in playing the PR game. He's pushing this team because he wants to believe, but he also knows time is running out. This isn't panic, but it's a pivot point, because if Ferrari doesn't respond, really respond, they won't just fall behind. They'll be left behind. If you've made it this far, you're clearly here for more than just highlights. Here's your next move. Like this video if you respect Leclerc's brutal honesty, even when it hurts. Drop a comment. Can Ferrari still turn this around in 2025, or are they in denial? Subscribe to Paddock Insider, because we dig into what the drivers really mean, not just what they say. Paddock Insider, unfiltered, unflinching, unapologetically obsessed with performance.